weeks, then the parasites might, leave.
I don't know, man.
I do my own, crazy. It's when my eyes start sinking in and I look like I need a steak, and that's when
you hit Peter Luger's. Yeah, exactly. Marijuana.
Medicine.
Black roses.
In my garden.
Cedric Hernandez.
Co-captain, partner, I guess the odd couple. Is he the Felix? He's Felix. I'm Oscar, he's Felix.
Okay. Good dude. BTG.
The future.
15 years.
Mighty long time? I don't know. Consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, consistency wins. I would say the trick to it, for me, it's every Wednesday. It's pretty easy. I don't run too many other days of the week, maybe 3 tops when I'm training or whatever. But I think the fact that we made it part of our lifestyle, and that's what other people did, is made running part of the lifestyle. Like,
yeah,
run, instead of like, I'm going to run, it's kind of like lending yourself to run, like running gets to enjoy you and your crew. We kind of changed the face of running.
Yeah.
So,
not something you want to get over with.
Right, exactly, yeah. So it's just kind of 15 years of that, of like every Wednesday being a joy and a challenge, not like a chore or something.
Yeah.
I've maybe, out of 15 years, I've probably missed like, a dozen Wednesdays.
Yeah. Before you started, had you ever even enjoyed running in any sort, in any way?
As a graffiti writer, running was part of the that made it like that. The running was the cherry on top. You went into the yard of the layup, you did damage to the trains, and then you get chased at the end and you get away, and that just made the night better.
Yeah.
Adrenaline. Because like the adrenaline. Yeah. And so I think that's what running really is, at least for me personally. Like, people like will try to challenge me on something, or everybody wants to not challenge me personally, but like a task, like you can't do it, or like what makes you think you could do that? And I'm like, motherfucker, I ran 100 miles. Like, I could do anything. Like, there's nothing.
When you guys did 100 miles in 24 hours, I mean, that was really where I think a lot of people were like, shit, we can really mentally,
right? Exactly.
Right? Like,
that has nothing even really to do with the muscles. Obviously, you got to make sure. And, we went racing, and we figured out that you got to walk up hills 50 miles in, and made it a little easier. And we made it a food tour because it was good, but just the whole mental battle of, once you start, you can't give up anyways, right? Like,
right.
You're there. Like, when you were biking to DC and it was fucking freezing, and you're like, fuck, I'm started already, like. So once you commit, you commit. Me and my commitments now are like only to have fun. That's why in Boston I was just like, wow, I really have to do this. Like, if there was a train station right there, I'd fucking jump on it. When I did Boston. But I like to have fun. But I think it's the challenge. It's the the 100-mile. Every 9/11.
Yeah,
that's a challenge.
Well, everybody's idea of fun obviously is a little bit different, because some of the stuff that we're doing and you're doing and I'm doing, people probably wouldn't consider fun. But
well, if you reward that with like ice cream and pizza,
exactly,
chronic, or a cold beer, and somewhere in Bubblefuck, Valhalla Dam or some shit, like that's the reward, So it's good to challenge. The body, obviously, and the mind, definitely, and then you reward it with, fried shrimp on frickin' Dykeman 207. That's what the whole thing for us is, right? It's like, we're gonna bike 50 miles today, but during that 50 miles, we're gonna have the best of something,
right?
And that's what you're gonna remember more than the hills that you fucking had to fucking pound through. You're going to remember the fucking fried shrimp.
The fried shrimp, or the people you met, or the view. Yeah.
And that's a trick to the challenges, right? That's always been like why we run bridges and not do the same park or what have you, and that's because you're going to see things, and it's going to take your mind off of your knee pains and your ankles and everything that's hurting because you're stimulated visually. So I think that's what the biking.
Yeah, I remember we biked to Lucali's once on a roll, and we ended up somewhere like in a yard where they have trailers for tractor trailers, and we were just like eating on like this big cinder block. Lucali's, some of the best pizza with beers, and that was before I really ever went down to Red Hook. But now every time I roll down through Red Hook and I pass that little parking lot, I'm like, I have Lucali's right there. You know what I mean? It's a good memory. But
well, that's what's cool is like, oh, I know a spot, right? So like, there's another one of those that's down there in Williamsburg where you make a left and all of a sudden you're in this fucking yard and you kind of hang out and smoke and chill and there's graffiti there, and it's like those little nooks and crannies are what makes New York real dope, and the exploration, you know what I mean? Which is why, like, on a bike, it's like, okay, you can make a wrong turn, you know, retreat. We're running too. We still, like, I don't, you know, if there's a fence there, maybe we'll climb it, but, you know, I have no regrets of exploring dead-end streets and having to retreat. Like, I don't, you know, I like, you know, my thing is always the road less traveled. You know, like, when we do a run, especially a 10-miler, and we don't see any other runners, then that's, like, a good night. You know, like, oh, look, nobody else was out there where we were, because a lot of these routes now, you know, these bike lanes, and, you know, I was doing all this stuff by myself 14 years ago. There was nobody else going up Kent or Flushing. You know, I used to run the middle. There was no bike lanes or anything. There wasn't anybody on the bridges except like boxers on the Manhattan Bridge maybe, and sometimes Jewish ladies, you know, speed walking with strollers across the Williamsburg Bridge, but there was no real runners, and biking the Williamsburg Bridge was, you know, that was a risk. You can get robbed back in the days doing that. So it's like, to see it all happen now with the, you know, it's good. I just feel like they've been following my roots, kind of figuring it out.
But it's cool that you still find
routes that nobody else goes on.
Right,
is still like the challenge and still like the fun part.
Who's the coolest person you got to run with through this bridge runner experience that wasn't an athlete?
Well, you know, it was cool to like run with, like, you know, peers and like old friends, especially like graffiti writers. So like Kel and Mare, like, you know, Kel, you know, old graffiti dude I used to look up to, and I still look up to him, but like kind of like was a big fan, you know. He was like Michael Jackson, but like tough. So he was like, who would he be? Like Rick James or somebody, I don't know. But he was a rock star, and so him and Mare and people like that to run with me, and then like even like younger guys like, you know, Stuss and Brisk and those guys that were running with us, that the younger generation of graffiti writers. So it's just kind of cool, like the people. It's always cool when people that you don't expect to run, like, kind of run with you. Yeah. You know, Dowie was a cool runner that ran with me. You know, who's like a real runner, and that's always fun. And then Destroy is he's like my favorite. He ran with us the other day. He was at the first bridge run, and he also bikes with us, and he's just always got mad jokes. So he's just always fun to be around with. But it's kind of like, wow, you're out here with us, you're doing it. You know, like, this is because we do real shit. It's not like we're like, oh, we're runners and like go out and run fucking 3 miles. It's like, no, our fucking short is 6 miles now. Yeah. So it's not like we're like, we're touring with running. We're actually like, treating it pretty seriously, especially on a Wednesday night, 10 miles, or could have done, like I said, we could have done a half. I don't care. I'll keep going. Yeah. But so it's not like we're like, you know, poser skaters or like poser bikers, you know, on fixies or something. We're like actual real freaking runners.
So for you, just to see old school heads, people that you look up to, or even your friends who you wouldn't expect to be out there running. Seeing those people running is probably like the most gratifying. Right?
Yeah, and then it was the people like Jess Zappo, who I would see like, for a year or two, that would always be like, I'm gonna run with you one day. I'm gonna run with you, and then when they finally make it, that's always like, oh look, you. So like, there's a bunch of people like that like, talk about it, and then you finally
actually
see them
show
do
up.
it. That's kind of
dope.
That's dope too.
Yeah. What advice would you give to a new New Yorker, someone who just showed up here, and it's just like?
Well, I would say definitely join a run crew. Just or as many as possible. Get in where you fit in, but it's the best way to learn the city, where to eat, where to drink. You know what I mean? It's basically a fast-paced tour.
What would you tell them not to do?
What would I tell them not to do? Oh, man. I hate freaking a lot of these new Yorkers. I don't know. How do they piss me off the most? I can't know. It's like I'm having all these subway thoughts. I don't know.
Right.
I guess I would tell them not to call the cops. Like,
call the cops
people
less.
Barbecuing or something. Yeah, call the cops less. Or whatever. I don't know.
It's not an emergency.
I like the new Yorkers to be humble.
There you go.
I like them, and to learn.
To learn. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's about anywhere and everywhere you go. And
you
should always like kind of pass that knowledge on.
Yeah,
like, the best pizza kind of stuff, or that just kind of information. Yeah.
So, what advice do you give to a new runner?
Again, also get in where you fit in. Like there's a bunch of different crews out there. There's run crews aren't for everybody. There's run clubs.
Mm-hmm.
That might be a better fit, a little more structured. Some people needed that, but I would definitely say never run alone.
Yeah.
Get the support of a team, of a squad, and you'll go much further.
Yeah.
And always explore, because that's what keeps it exciting. That's how you learn.
Yeah. Dope. A lot of people that run in our sort of family of groups and crews that, you and I and our circle of friends and people around run with, I feel like some people have the idea that they were the first crews in the city, or that it didn't really exist. And I know it was different. And I'm actually starting to do some research now, but I know there were groups in the city before, obviously, like the Harriers in Central Park Track Club and things like that, but even like the Hash House Harriers and things. What are some other groups that you were aware of before Bridgerunners?
Well, I know that like hashers have been around since like the 1800s, like beer runs and shit like that. Like that, all that stuff is old school. So I always try to say like we're not, the first crew to run at night and drink beer, and get drunk and run at night, even though that's kind of how we started. But I think we're the first people that were all about kind of exploring. I don't know.
That you were aware of.
There was no running. I know there was no running crews.
Yeah.
I know we're the first running crew.
Okay.
I just know that because I've run the bridges all the time, and I just never saw them if I would have seen them.
But
I used to see other bridge runners, right? So like I bump into like people I know that be running across the bridge, Mikey Meatballs and Johnny Lennon and a couple of other guys I would see running by themselves and kind of recruit them to run with the crew.
Oh, word.
So I'm not the first person to run across a bridge either. But I think for us, like meeting at midnight, or late in the evening, and kind of, or even when we were doing track workouts in 2004, Saturdays and on the FDR Park, or maybe even 2003, we were doing that stuff. Nobody else was doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And there's, the Pioneer Run Club, which I have a lot of respect for.
Yeah, so there were run clubs, but that's kind of different.
Yeah, totally different.
What's the distinction there?
I think, clubs are more serious, and crews are just kind of like, we do serious things, but we don't take it too serious. Like, it's not about, heart monitors and you know, it's not. We just don't take it too serious. I think it's more about, you know, the pizza afterwards than the pace during or something. And look, I don't want to